Hi, stitching friends. I'm Amy. I'm the Globetrotting Stitcher, and it's really great to be back with you today. It's a couple of days after Christmas, and so things have quieted down here tremendously, which is a nice break. We've had a very busy month. We hope that all of you, those of you who celebrate Christmas or whatever festivities you celebrate during the month of December, we hope they've been good to you. We hope that they've been full of happiness and people who love you and people that you love. And so we're just sending all of our best wishes to all of you. We also wanted to say a big thank you to those of you that took the time to share birthday wishes or holiday wishes on our last video. Thank you so much for those kind comments. That was really sweet of all of you, and we really do appreciate it. So if this is your first time finding us, welcome. This is a YouTube channel about cross stitch. And if you are a returning friend and subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. We're really glad that you come and spend time with us every few weeks. So we'll get into just a couple of quick life updates and then dive into some stitching. We have a lot of good stuff to share with you today. So first of all, as I mentioned, it's just a couple of days after Christmas. We had a really fantastic celebration or series of celebrations with family and loved ones. It was really wonderful. And as much as it was, as the holidays are for many of us, it was a very busy season. But we really enjoyed all the time we got to spend with people that we love. So really, really fantastic. Those of you who have been around for a few years might remember that every year at Christmas I do a big baking marathon, and this year was no different. So this year I made 11 different kinds of cookies, and as well as special Rice Krispie treats and apple cider caramels. So it was quite the undertaking. It was 2 full days in the kitchen. Gary jumped in to help where he could, but yeah, we had some really tasty treats this year. Thankfully, almost all of it has been packaged up and given away to new homes, so we don't have a lot of sugars lurking around the house trying to get us to eat them. We just have a few things left to snack on a little bit, but yeah, made a lot of the old favorites. Made a couple of new kinds of cookies. So we tried a few new things this year. The blackberry cookies, which were new. Which Gary called ugly but tasty, or what was it that you said?
Negative cookie.
Negative cookie. They were really ugly, but it was made with a blackberry puree. My dad loves blackberries, so I thought I'd try them for him. Made a couple of other new kinds of things, as well as like the old favorites of like chocolate covered cherry and candied ginger and lemon crinkles, and everybody has a different favorite, and so I have to make sure I make one of everybody's favorite. Anyway, so we've been enjoying snacking on those things as well as giving them to people who enjoy them. Before we get into the stitching, I did want to just check in with you guys quickly for a recommendation on something stitching related. So some of you might recall that during the early days of the pandemic, I taught my dad how to cross stitch. And he has really been struggling. His vision is not so great. And so he's really been struggling with getting enough magnification to be able to see his stitching and actually enjoy it. So he's kind of put it aside for the better part of the last year just because he's not able to see it. He does have one of those little headlamps that's got the different kind of magnification lenses that you can add, and that helps, but it's not quite doing enough. And so I know that there are a lot of you out there that either stitch on really high count fabrics or that also have had to come up with solutions to make you able to see your stitching. And so if you have any products or solutions that you would recommend, I'd love to see if we can find some additional options to help him see his stitching better, because I know he wants to do more. I don't know if it's possible to like stack a couple of different magnification options, if that's something that might work or what. But if you have a product or something else that you would recommend that has worked for you, really would love to hear about that, because we'd like to help him get back into the stitching. I know he misses doing it. So just wanted to kind of put a call out to the community and see if we can get some advice from all of you on that. So with that, let's get into the actual stitching. We've got a couple fully finished objects as well as a big finish to share with you. So the first fully finished objects, we only have 1 of 4. So on our last video, I was showing you that I had started stitching some of the little pieces of the Christmas stamps chart by Madame Chantilly. And I had finished 2 of the smalls from that set. So for, sorry, words are so hard today. So I had finished like 2 of them because I wanted to make gift tags for people in the family and then make them up in such a way that they could be used as a gift tag and then in future years use as a Christmas tree ornament. So I had shown you finishes on the gift and the moose, I think it was a moose, for my niece and nephew, Cameron and Callan. What I didn't show you was that I had worked on 2 other pieces, one for my parents' dog, Cookie, and then one for Gary. And I wanted the one for Gary to be a surprise, so I didn't show that one at all because I wanted him to be surprised Christmas morning when he saw one on one of his gifts. So I was able to get just 4 fully finished and stitched in time for Christmas. And I think the fully finishing didn't actually take longer than the stitching, but it felt like it did. It was pretty involved. And it's the first time I've made ornaments. So because it's after Christmas, 3 of the 4 ornaments have already been gifted away. So we can show pictures of those. So the 2 for Cameron and Callan, our niece and nephew, were stitched on 36 count pearl gray Edinburgh linen using the called for flosses. And then I finished them on a pretty green and red plaid with, I'm trying to remember, I think I just used rickrack trim and then had little charms showing that they were made in 2023. So they really enjoyed those. In fact, Callan, he was so cute. He pulled it off of his present and he came and showed it to me and he's like, "Did you make this?" And I said, "Yes." And he gave me a big hug and he immediately went and he put it up on the Christmas tree while we were still unwrapping presents. It was really sweet. And then I made Gary's and Cookies also on the same fabric, and that was a piece of 32 count gold opalescent Belfast linen. And again, using the called for flosses. So we put a picture up of Cookie's ornament, and then this is the finish on Gary's ornament. So you can see I used this really sweet red with white star print, and then use some Lady Dot Creates pom-pom trim around the outside. Now this one I did modify. The chart calls for a Caucasian Santa, and I chose to make mine black. Also have the year charm here, and then a couple of little ornament charms or light charms hanging off of the bottom of that. So I was pretty satisfied with how that turned out, and Gary seemed happy with it. So that was one of the 4 ornament charms that, or not charms, one of the 4 cross-stitch ornament gift tags that I made for Christmas this year. The other fully finish has been fully finished for quite a while, and you haven't seen it on our channel because when I fully finished it, I knew I wanted to gift it to Gary for Christmas, and so I didn't want him to know that it was done. So I just quietly framed it when he wasn't paying attention and hid it in the closet so he wouldn't see it until Christmas morning when he unwrapped it. So I gave him one of my finishes from earlier this year. I stitched Bush Market by Hannah's Needlecraft on a piece of 32 count vintage country mocha using the called for DMC flosses. And here is how it turned out. So I did order the frame from, I think it was Custom Frame Solutions where I ordered this frame. I thought it was a really nice compliment. It's got a nice rustic vibe to it. And so I thought it worked really well with the design and with the fabric. So now that we're showing this on Flosstube, we have plans later today to find its new permanent home in the house so we can see it and enjoy it every day. So that is the fully finished version of Bush Market. You were pretty surprised to get this Christmas morning, yeah? Had you forgotten about it?
It's hard to say I forget about a project that you've done. You've done a lot of projects, so I can't say I forgot about it, but I never envisioned that it would be mine. But it is. So there you have it.
There you have it. Complete with bear fur. All right. Oops. Okay, that's it for fully finished objects, but I have another finish. This is hot off the needles, or hot off the frame. I'm not sure which one you would say. In our last video, I was telling you that I was going to be working on my Fancy Lady, which I've been stitching at the Met by Mirabilia. I've been stitching this 2/2 on 32 count Aztec red linen by Weeks Dye Works. And stitching this with all the called for floss, with the exception that I chose to do the skin on the woman 1/1, and I chose to darken her skin to more African American tones. So the last time you saw this, I thought it was going to be a bit of a stretch to get it done, but I thought I was within kind of shooting distance of making that happen. So I had finished stitching in the sash, the belt sash thing that runs down the length and trails behind her. I had also finished stitching the pedestal, so the whole archway around her was complete. And I had put in a fair bit of work on getting her train, the train of her dress, further along. So since Christmas is over and a lot of the busyness and work that goes into the holidays has been quiet, Gary's been really encouraging me the last couple of days to just relax and not try and tackle things on a to-do list. And so with his encouragement, I had some nice big chunks of stitching time, and I finished the stitching on this piece last night. So here is at the Met, all finished, all the stitching, all the beading, everything completely done. I think she's really, really beautiful. I was kind of dreading the bead work because she's got a beaded fringe along the hem of her gown, and I was kind of dreading that as like part of the finishing process. But I actually ended up really enjoying stitching that whole fringe. It was a lot of fun. More fun actually than stitching these big clumps of beads that are in her skirt. Part of the challenge when you stitch on 32 count and you're using beads is, unless you're using a real petite bead on 32 count, they do tend to crowd quite a bit. And so I have to fight with them to get them to look, halfway decent. And so when you get these big clusters, it gets to be really tricky. But despite that, I think it turned out beautiful, and I'm super happy with it. This is another finish that Gary has claimed. So we'll be looking for a frame and getting this fully finished up. But I think once it's done, it will ultimately belong to Gary. So that is at the Met, all finished up. So that's it for finishes and fully finished objects. We only have a couple whips to show you just because things are falling into other categories today. So the next whip I'm going to show you is Rose Trellisin. This is my full coverage piece that I am stitching. It's by Heaven and Earth Designs, and I am stitching it 2/1 on 28 count white Lugana using a combination of half stitch and continental stitch. So the last time you saw this, I was, getting close to the end of my row of pages, which is, I think it's the fourth row of pages. One, two, three. Yeah, fourth row of pages. I had finished stitching in the hanging basket of flowers. I had also finished stitching the roof and the trim of the front porch. And I had made really good progress. There's a window in that final section of porch, and I had finished stitching, or was almost finished with stitching that, and was starting to really make good progress working my way down through the background. So here's where we are right now. You guys, I'm so close to finishing this row of pages. So I did finish page 22 here, and I'm almost done with pages 23 and 24. As you can see, I'm just the tiniest, not tiniest, but 1 to 2 stitching sessions the next time this comes up. We'll finish pages 23 and 24, and we'll finish this row of pages entirely. So you can see I'm pretty well done now with what will be stitched of the window on this row of pages. Finished the siding down here. Have finished all of the cornice work along the top now, and have stitched quite a bit of the support poles, and then did a lot of this background stitching with this really pretty bush that has purple flowers in it. So it's really coming along. I'm super excited because I only have one row of pages left that's got heavy confetti in it. And then I'll be getting back into just complete background stitching that should be pretty pretty quick and large blocks of stitching. So this is really coming along fantastic. It's almost at 70% now. And interestingly enough, I have yet to have a single floss color that I've finished all the stitching, and I have no zeros yet in my pattern keeper on this one. So next row of pages, I should be getting a whole bunch of flosses that finish and the colors are done and I get those zeros, but I have yet to do it on this piece. So anyway, that's how that's looking. So next we are going to go to Gary, and he is going to talk about his project, Women Who Behave.
All right, so I'm working on Women Who Behave, and that is by somebody with a good name, I guess. Anyway, I'm working on Women Who Behaves by Sue Hillis Designs, and it's stitched on 16 count rock I almost said rock salt Aida with all the called for flosses. I guess I should have practiced. I didn't. Anyway, so the last time you saw this, I think that I was still working on the bottom letters. I'm not sure exactly where, maybe somewhere in the middle. And that was, there were a couple of restarts there. I guess, I'm sorry, frogging moments is the way to put that. There were a couple of frogging moments there. But then, here's what it looks like now. I've basically finished the letters and started on the hat. That's where I am. I guess there's some type of florally like work in that part of her. I guess, does a skull have a gender? I don't know. Anyway, part of the skull, I guess it would in some way. Anyway, so that's where I am on that one. And next time you see it, there'll be more done. And I can't say the same for Louis Armstrong. I haven't done any work on that since the last time you saw it. But that's okay. I'll get back to it. Anyway, so, but we're thinking that, because I'm close to, not really a finish, but I guess I'm going to, if I do it for a couple of weeks straight, we'll probably finish a Women Who Behave. So we're thinking of starting the dragon. I'm not sure if you guys remember that one, but that's all green. And it's just a bunch of blocks, so it should be easier to do. Anyway, we'll see. So that's where I am on the stuff.
All right then. So I have one new start to share with you. So last month I finished Faith of the Heart in my sampler category. And so this month I got to have a new start in my sampler part of my rotation. So I am stitching a design that I have been really looking forward to starting for a long time. Sorry, I'm trying to remove, there we go. Trying to remove some dog fur. I don't know why I bother trying because it's like embedded in everything. Anyway, I have had this chart for a while. I've been really wanting to start it for a long time. And so I was really excited to finally get the chance. So I am now stitching Die Farben Venedig by Historische Stickmuster. I am stitching on a piece of 36 count cream and sugar linen by Fiber on a Whim. And I'm using the called for Soie d'Alger silks. So here is my kind of minuscule start on this. So this happened to come up in the rotation during Christmas week, or the week before Christmas, I should say. And so it ended up being, as you can imagine, a very busy week. I had a couple of days when I didn't get to stitch at all. And then just given how busy the days were getting ready for Christmas, there were a number of nights when I had very limited stitching time. So I didn't make very much progress for having, a full week of rotation on it, but at least it is started. The colors are just beautiful. I really love how they're showing up on this fabric. I think this is going to be absolutely lovely. I did struggle a bit. So like many of you, my hands get terribly dry in the winter. And the week that I was working on this, because I was spending so much time in the kitchen baking and, so on, I was washing my hands even more than normal. So my hands were extra dry. So trying to stitch with silks was not a big success. That was a real struggle and a bit frustrating, but they're so beautiful, and I really love this. I think it's going to be absolutely stunning. So I'm looking forward to actually getting to work on it again, and to being able to put in something that's a little bit more of more typical for the amount of time I can stitch during an average rotation. But this is my start on Die Farben Venedig. The English translation of that is The Colors of Venice. So yeah, that is where we are on that. Let's see, I think I'll put this down here. So that's it for actual stitching. But we have some phenomenal haul and Stitchy kindness to share with you. So we both did pretty well for Christmas. Me more so than Gary, not surprisingly. So wanted to share with you some fantastic goodness that that I got for Christmas from Gary and from other family members. So we'll start with that. So first of all, in our last video, I was talking about, for my birthday, my brother and his wife got me a chewed with strawberries. It's a Luca S kit. And for Christmas, I got 2 more kits that are part of that kind of design series. So the first one is apples, which I think is really beautiful. Gorgeous colors on this one. And as always, Luca S kits are they're just so well put together. So looking forward to stitching that. And then Gary also got me the cherries kit, which I think is really pretty. I think there's more than one more design in this series, but there's one more kit in this series that I really want to get, and I might treat myself to that one, which is the plums kit. But again, gorgeous colors. And I'm so looking forward to starting these. I'm not sure when I'll get them done because there'll be 3 or 4 of them to do, and I want to display them in our kitchen. So it's going to take a while to do all of those. But I think they're really pretty, and I'm super excited to have gotten 2 of those kits for Christmas. And then Gary also got me a magic needle kit. So he got me the Scent of Lilacs, which if any of you have been watching Hanukkah from the Dutch, her channel is the Dutch Stitcher. I think it's the Dutch Stitcher. I might be saying that wrong, but I'm pretty sure. But Hanukkah has been stitching the companion to this, which is very similar. This is slightly different, but she's also been stitching a Lilacs chart by Magic Needle. And it is so beautiful. I have loved watching her stitch this over the last year. And so this particular design has been on my wish list for quite a while. And so I was really excited that Gary picked this one from the wish list for me for Christmas this year, because I think it's just beautiful. The colors are gorgeous. So I did pretty well on kits, as you can see. I also got some fantastic just regular charts. So Gary also got me Let Love Rain by Teresa Kogut. This is another one that has been on my wish list ever since it was first released. I just think those blues and browns in this are gorgeous. A number of people had started this when it first came out, and you see this on Flosstube fairly regularly. So I don't know when I'll start it, but I am super excited to have it. I think it's just beautiful. And then Gary got me another chart that I don't think I've ever seen this on Flosstube, but I think it's absolutely adorable. This is Spring Tour by Madame Chantilly. Just so cute, the bunny and the little chicks and this whole spring Easter vibe that it's got going on. I really love this, and I think this one will kind of move toward the top of my stitching priorities for spring rotations, because I think it's so adorable. So Spring Tour. I also, let's see, where is this on my table here? Haha. I don't know how well you'll be able to see these, but I was also really delighted in my stocking to get some really fantastic thread blings because as I've been making myself more project bags, I don't have enough thread rings to organize my flosses as I kit things up. So I'm really excited to have some pretty new ones to use as I'm kitting things up for the next year or so. So super fun. Gary also got some Stitchy goodness for Christmas. So do you want to talk about this, or do you want me to? I forget. I know we talked about this, but I don't remember.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Speak on it.
Okay.
Use your words.
My words?
Yes.
So I made Gary a quilted project bag for Christmas. So I've been wanting, so those of you who watch our channel regularly know that over the last several months, I've started making patchwork project bags for myself. And it's been a bit of a learning curve, but I've been making really good progress. And I think my bags are actually turning out really well. I had a couple that I gifted away to some of my girlfriends locally who are also stitchers. And I was actually felt really proud of how those turned out. And so I was like, you know, I really want to make some quilt blocks and turn those into a project bag. And so Gary's project bag here was my first foray and experiment into that. And it went moderately well. So this bag was handcrafted with love and cursing, more cursing than love as we got toward the end. It was, this was another real learning curve, and there's a lot of imperfections, but it turned out reasonably well despite those. So when I was in Nairobi on my last trip in November, I had a weekend in the city where I didn't have any work. And so I walked over, some of you might remember earlier this year, I discovered a sewing and stitching shop that's right next to the hotel that I stay at when I'm in Kenya. And so I went over there on the weekend and went through, they have a beautiful collection of African fabrics. And so I went through the African fabrics and I picked out 4 or 5 that coordinated with each other. And I had picked out already the quilt block that I wanted to use for the project bag. And so I picked the fabrics that I needed and then came home and started work on making this for Gary. So it didn't turn out exactly as I had envisioned. I was envisioning this as more of a predominantly blue bag with brown and red accents. It's actually turned out to be more of a brown bag with red and blue accents. So not quite to plan, but that's okay. So I did do the quilt squares. The bottom ones line up better down here than the top ones, but my points met up pretty well. So can't complain too much. Again, it is fully lined. I used as one of the zipper pulls that Gary actually made last year. And then this is the fabric on the back. So I just thought it was really fun. I was super excited to be able to make him a project bag using fabrics from Africa. And I think he liked it. I think so. So that's it for Christmas haul or Stitchy haul. However, we have Stitchy kindness to share with you, and this is really, really special. So first of all, we got a beautiful Christmas card from Becky J. She's one of our regular viewers and commenters, and she sends us emails, and she's just a wonderful friend. And so we loved getting a Christmas card from her, and it's so cute. It's got all the little puppers pulling the sleigh, which is just perfect for Bear and Sophie and for us. And so thank you, Becky. We loved this. And then the day after we filmed our last update, we got a massive package in the mail from New Zealand from our friend Sarah. Sarah is Stitch Addict on Instagram. And those of you who've been following the channel for a while know that Sarah's become a good friend of ours. She and I have done a number of stitch-alongs together now. And every now and then she surprises us with a really special package of goodness. And this was a monster of a great package. So Sarah, wow, thank you. So first of all, Gary is actually wearing part of what was in the package. So yes, you can see. So when we went to New Zealand the first time, Gary became a fan of the All Blacks, which is New Zealand's rugby team. And Sarah learned pretty quickly when she started watching our videos a while ago that Gary was into the All Blacks. And Sarah's husband is also an All Blacks fan. And so Gary has received some All Blacks loot a couple of times now over the past few years. And so he is now the proud owner of their most recent championship shirt, which is very cool. And it looks really good on him. And it's a really cool shirt and he loves it. So thank you for that. Oh, I should also show beautiful card from Sarah with beautiful, beautiful message inside. So sweet. Oh, that's upside down. Really thoughtful and sweet. Thank you so much, Sarah.
How could you tell?
Because the birds were upside down.
It's all right.
So, you guys, like, you might want to sit down because this is just such an amazing and generous gift from Sarah. So, first of all, she sent us some amazing New Zealand chocolates, which she always sends us some sort of a sweet treat. And we got a bunch of fantastic chocolate bars that are going to keep us in calories for quite a while. They're really, really good. And so we're gonna try and use a little bit of self-control with them. Sarah has also been trying her hand at doing some hand dyeing on fabrics, which totally impresses me, people who can dye fabric. My hat's off to you. I haven't tried it. I'm super intimidated by it. But she sent me a couple of beautiful hand-dyed fabrics that she's done. Just really, really pretty. I love this. Just love it. And then also this really beautiful, really, really beautiful one. So I'm going to use those for some special projects. I haven't decided which ones yet, but I think they're just gorgeous. And I feel really lucky to have some hand-dyed fabrics from Sarah. Just so pretty. In addition to those, this floss ring is full of, Sarah has a pretty good collection. She must have a good collection of the Silks For You flosses because she sent me a bunch of, just a ton of these beautiful, like jewel toned silk flosses. Just gorgeous. I couldn't believe it when like it was all spread out on the table and I was like, oh my word. So many beautiful colors, so many beautiful silks. Oh, hold on. Sorry guys, telemarketer. Very exciting. Anyway, really beautiful colors. So we'll have to pick some really great projects for these and I just love them. So Sarah, oh my goodness, I could not believe this. Thank you so much. But the creme de la creme, Sarah made Gary and I a couple of really beautiful, actually I'm gonna need my little board here for these. She made us some beautiful Christmas stockings, one for each of us. And these are amazing, you guys. So these are Blackbird Designs stockings. And she not only made the stockings, she made these beautiful beaded hangers for them. Give me a second here. Whoop. All right. There we go. Look at these. Aren't they gorgeous? So incredibly beautiful. Beautiful fabric on the back. And these are just so special and so beautiful. So we have had these up on display and at our mantle with the rest of the Christmas stockings. And these are just an absolute treasure. So beautiful, so much beautiful stitching, like teeny, teeny, tiny squares. We absolutely love them. So Sarah, we cannot thank you enough for your friendship. We can't thank you enough for such an amazing gift. I might have had a few tears in my eyes because this was really, really special. And so thank you so much for making Christmas very special for us. We really appreciate you. And Emmett. We appreciate Emmett too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to wrap up by telling you what we're going to be stitching on over the next couple of weeks and what our plans are. So the first thing, and I'm super excited about this, I get to have another new start because I finished at the Met last night. I am going to be starting one of my unicorn charts. And this one is extra special because it was gifted to me last year by Sarah, who gave us the wonderful Christmas gift. So she stitched this one years ago, and when she learned that it was one of my unicorn charts, she just popped it right in the mail and sent it to me, which was so sweet of her. So it's been up at the top of my priorities for my Fancy Lady category for a while. And I'm really excited. I'm finally going to get to start it. So this one is one that I remember seeing any number of times when I visited my local stitching shops when it was still in print. So, I mean, I remember this when it was readily available for whatever reason, I never actually purchased it. And then when I finally decided I must have this in my life, it was too late. So I was really thankful that Sarah so kindly sent it to me. And I'm going to be starting, I should probably tell you what it is, right? I'm going to be starting Rose of Sharon by Mirabilia. And I'm so looking forward to really getting a good start on this. I think it's just going to be such a joy to stitch. I'm also hoping to get some decent chunks of time in on my weekend stitch, which is Butterfly Port Mauve. This one has been sadly neglected over the last couple of months, just given the way the schedules have gone. And so I'm hoping to maybe get a little bit of catch-up stitching on it over the next few weeks. We'll see how that goes. But hopefully we'll have some good progress to share with you the next time. And then I am also going to spend a week working on Joyful Song, which is my seasonal design by Samplers Not Forgotten, as well as a week working on Cabin Fever by Dimensions. So looking forward to that. Gary, as he has already said, is going to be stitching on Women Who Behave, and we'll see whether Louis Armstrong shows up next time or not. So that's what we've got planned. Other than that, I think it's just wishing all of you a really safe and happy New Year's Eve and a wonderful start to 2024, which, oh my goodness, how are we starting 2024 already? What happened to 2023? Gary, do you want to talk about your action figures before we sign off?
Okay. Those are holiday editions. One is a Christmas Wookiee. I don't know what he's all about, but he's a Christmas Wookiee. And the guy next to him is Bat Santa, or Batman dressed up as Santa. And he has a little bag of presents. That particular one is one of the action figures I got for Christmas. Another Batman figure I got was, it's a robot and he's really cool. So I'm going to show you a picture of it, and here it is. But I'm not going to talk about all of the action figures because it would bore you, but I got quite a few. And the robot one, again, is one of the cooler ones, although they're all cool. But I guess I talked more than I wanted to about that. So,
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. We also have a budding crafter in the family, and my niece, or our niece. And she made action figure capes for Gary's action figures, which we thought was really fun. So yeah, with that, we are wishing all of you a safe, happy, healthy New Year's celebration, and all the best wishes as we move into 2024. We hope it's a year of great stitching and even better blessings for each of you. We also hope that you've enjoyed spending some time with us today. If you like our video, please do give it a thumbs up. We love hearing from you in the comments, so feel free to leave a comment if you've got the time. And you can also reach out to us between videos at through email or Instagram. I'm on Instagram as globetrotting_stitcher, and our email address is globetrottingstitcher@gmail.com. So we look forward to seeing you in the new year. Thank you so much for sharing our 2023 stitching adventures with us, and we'll look forward to see what happens in 2024. Happy stitching, you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.